The 17 closed doors. The night was cold, colder than anything she had ever known. The wind screamed through the empty streets, carrying sharp pieces of snow that cut against her skin like little blades. She was thin, her clothes torn and wet, her body shaking as she walked barefoot on frozen ground. Her skin, pale and bruised, looked almost blue under the moonlight. She was not human. Her face had marks of another world, her eyes glowing faintly in the dark. But right now, she looked less like an alien and more like someone about to die. She stopped at the first house, her weak hands knocking on the wooden door. Her voice came out as a whisper, broken and desperate. "Please, help me. I'm freezing." For a moment, there was silence. Then the door opened just wide enough for a face to appear. The villager's eyes went wide when he saw her strange features. Without a word, the door slammed shut, locking her out again. She stood there, snow piling on her shoulders, her lips trembling, and then she moved on. The second house, the third, the fourth. Each door opened only long enough for fear and disgust to spill out. They cursed at her. Some shouted, "Get away, creature!" Others didn't even waste words. They just pushed her back into the snow and slammed the door in her face. She begged, she cried, her voice cracking until it was almost gone, but none of them cared. By the 10th house, her legs were heavy. Each step a battle, her bare feet left red stains on the snow, blood mixing with ice. She was too weak to cover herself, too weak to fight. Her body wanted to fall, to give up. But something inside her told her to keep moving. Just one more door, the 12th, the 13th. The 14th. No one wanted her. One man threw a bucket of water at her. Laughing as the freezing liquid covered her body, she gasped, shivering violently. The woman at the 15th door crossed her chest like she was protecting herself from evil, and whispered, "Monster." Before slamming the door at the 16th door, a child peeked out, wide-eyed and curious, but his mother yanked him back. Inside, before he could speak to her, the 17th door was the hardest. She leaned against it, too weak to stand on her own. Her hand knocked weakly, more like a tap. The man who opened the door looked at her with a sneer. He muttered, "We don't want your kind here," and kicked the door shut with such force that she stumbled backward into the snow. Her body hit the ground, and she stayed there for a moment. Her cheek pressed against the icy earth. Her breath was shallow, almost gone. She whispered, "Maybe this is it." The sky above was dark, the stars hidden behind storm clouds. She thought about her people, about how even they had abandoned her. She thought about the home she lost, the warmth of a mother's arms that no longer existed. The galaxy was wide, yet here she was, dying on a nameless street, invisible to everyone. Her body was screaming at her to stop, to sleep, to let the cold take her. But her heart whispered one more time, one more chance. She pushed herself up, her knees shaking like broken branches. Her eyes stared at the next house, the 18th door. The wooden frame glowed faintly in the distance because light spilled out from its window. A fire, she thought, warmth. She dragged her body forward, step by step, until she reached it. Her hand shook as she raised it to knock. For a moment, she hesitated. What if this one was like the rest? What if this was the final rejection before death? Her heart pounded in her ears. She knocked, once, twice. The sound barely louder than the wind. The door creaked open, and warm light spilled onto the snow. She blinked, blinded for a moment. A figure stood there, tall, broad-shouldered, his face human. His eyes widened as he saw her, an alien woman. Freezing, weak, her lips blue, her body shaking. She tried to speak, but her voice was broken, barely a whisper. "Please." Just warmth, nothing else. Her knees gave out, and she began to fall backward into the snow, but strong arms caught her. The human held her up. looking at her with shock and disbelief. For a heartbeat, they just stared at each other, his warm breath against the cold night, her glowing eyes staring back at him. She fainted in his arms. The last thing she felt was the heat of his body compared to the ice outside. For her, the 18th door had opened, and inside was not rejection, but something she thought she would never find: hope. Asterisk the human's fire, the door closed against the storm, shutting out the screaming wind and swirling snow. Inside, the human moved quickly, carrying the fainted alien woman in his arms. Her skin was ice cold, her body stiff as if death already claimed her. He placed her gently on a rough wooden bed. Near the fireplace, the fire crackled loudly, its heat filling the room. But her lips were still blue, her hands trembling even in unconsciousness. The man pulled off his thick coat and covered her with it. He grabbed a blanket and tucked it tightly around her. His brow was heavy with worry. He had never seen a creature like her so close before. He had only heard stories aliens were dangerous, strange, untrustworthy. That was what the others in the village believed. But now, lying weak and broken in his home, she did not look dangerous at all. She looked like someone who had nothing left. He sat beside her, watching her chest rise and fall slowly. "Don't die here," he muttered under his breath. His house was small, only one room, built of stone and wood, and though it was humble, it was warmer than the frozen streets outside. He poured hot water into a cup and set it near the fire, waiting for her to wake. After some time, the alien stirred, her eyelids fluttered, and she slowly opened her glowing eyes. They caught the firelight, making them look like embers. She blinked in confusion, then panic. Her body tensed as she tried to sit up, her voice rough and weak. "Where?" "AM1. The human raised his hand slowly, showing he meant no harm. "Calm down, you're safe here," he said. His voice was steady, warm, not harsh like the villagers. He moved the cup toward her. "Drink this, it will help." Her trembling hands reached for the cup, but she was too weak to hold it. The man steadied it for her. Lifting it to her lips, she sipped, the hot liquid burning her dry throat but spreading warmth through her chest. Tears welled in her eyes, not just from the heat, but from something deeper. Someone was helping her for the first time. "You're human," she whispered, staring at him with disbelief. "Why? Why did you let me in?" The others, they shut their doors. Her voice cracked, remembering the faces twisted in fear and hate, remembering the buckets of water and the cruel words. The man leaned back, staring into the fire. His jaw tightened as if he was thinking. "Carefully, because I couldn't watch you die on my doorstep." He answered simply, "You knocked on the wrong night if you wanted me to ignore you." She lowered her gaze, ashamed. Her fingers clutched the blanket. "I didn't want to." "Come here," she said softly. "My people said humans would kill me if I got close, but the cold, it was worse than fear." Silence hung heavy for a moment. Only the fire crackled. The human studied her carefully, noticing how fragile she looked, her bones sharp under her skin, her face pale with exhaustion. He wondered how long she had been, wondering how many nights she had survived in this storm alone. Finally, he spoke. "What happened to you? Why were you out there, knocking on doors?" Her lips trembled, and for a moment she did not answer. Then, slowly, words spilled out like broken glass. "My family cast me out. They said I was useless, a burden. I tried to find shelter, but no one wanted me. I thought maybe someone would have pity, but I was wrong." Her voice broke, and she buried her face in her hands. 17 doors, all closed. The human clenched his fists, anger flickering in his chest, not at her, but at the cruelty she had endured. He thought of the villagers, the same ones who smiled at him during the day, now revealed as people who left a woman to freeze in the dark. "You're safe here," he said firmly. His voice carried strength. "No one will throw you out again. Not while you're under my roof." Her eyes widened. She looked at him as if he had spoken an impossible thing. Her lips parted, but no words came. Instead, her eyes filled with tears again, and she whispered, "Why? Why do you care? I am not even of your kind." The man leaned closer, meeting her glowing gaze with his steady brown eyes. "Because no one deserves to die in the snow," he replied. "Not human, not alien, no one." The fire popped, sending sparks into the air, and for the first time in many nights, the alien woman felt warmth, not only on her skin, but in her heart. The trembling of her hands slowed, and she leaned back against the bed, her breathing softer. The human stood, checking the windows. He knew the villagers would talk. Rumors spread fast. And if anyone saw her enter his house, trouble would come. But he did not care, for tonight saving her mattered more than their whispers. As he returned to the fire, the alien's eyes followed him. She studied his every move, still afraid, still uncertain, but also holding a small spark of trust. For the first time since her exile, she allowed herself to believe that maybe not everyone would close the door. The humans' fire the door closed against the storm, shutting out the screaming wind and swirling snow. Inside, the human moved quickly, carrying the fainted alien woman in his arms. Her skin was ice cold, her body stiff as if death already claimed her. He placed her gently on a rough wooden bed near the fireplace. The fire crackled loudly, its heat filling the room. But her lips were still blue, her hands trembling even in unconsciousness. The weight of hunger. The night had passed, but the cold morning brought no comfort. Snow still lay heavy on the ground outside. The alien mother woke first, her body stiff and aching. She had hardly slept. Every small sound in the dark made her fear the villagers would return. Yet her child slept peacefully, wrapped in the human's thick blanket, her little chest rising and falling gently. For the first time in many nights, the child had not shivered in her sleep. The mother's stomach growled, sharp and painful. She pressed her hand against it, trying to silence the noise. She had grown used to hunger. But it was worse now, because the scent of food still lingered in the air, the bread the child had eaten the night before was gone, only crumbs left on the blanket. The mother had taken no bite for herself. She had chosen to watch, with empty hands and an empty stomach. While her little one ate, the human stirred, opening his eyes as the pale light of dawn entered the broken hut. He noticed the mother's sunken cheeks, the hollow look in her eyes. He said nothing at first, only reached into his pack and brought out another small loaf. He broke it into 2 pieces, handing one to the child and offering the other to the mother. The child smiled weakly, reaching for her piece. Her tiny hands trembled with excitement. The mother looked at the bread in silence. She shook her head. "I cannot," she whispered, her voice cracked. "You have already given too much." The human placed the bread gently on the ground in front of her, his eyes steady. "You are hungry," he said softly. "Your child needs you strong. Take it." Her lips trembled. She wanted it more than anything, but shame filled her eye. "Am not worthy," she muttered. "I have nothing to give in return, nothing but failure." She lowered her head, hiding her face. The child tugged at her arm. "Mama, eat too," the little one said, her voice soft but firm. The mother's eyes burned with tears. Slowly, with shaking hands, she picked up the bread. She bit into it, and warmth spread through her weak body. It was rough, simple bread, but to her it tasted sweeter than anything she had ever known. The human watched quietly, his heart heavy as he realized how long it had been since she last ate. He had seen hunger before, on battlefields and among refugees, but this was different. This was a mother starving herself so her child could survive. When they finished eating, the mother looked at him with weary eyes. Why are you doing this?" She whispered, "Why help me when my own people would not? They call me cursed. They call my child worthless." Her voice broke. "Perhaps they are right." The human leaned forward, his voice calm but filled with iron. "They are wrong," he said firmly. "A mother who burns her last clothes to save her child is not cursed. She is stronger than anyone I have met. And your child?" He glanced at the small girl, who now clutched the empty bread crust with a smile. "Your child is worth more than they could ever see." The mother blinked, stunned by his words. No one had ever spoken of her with such respect. She felt her throat tighten. She wanted to believe him, but fear weighed heavy in her chest. "They will not stop," she said quietly. "The villagers will return. They hate me. They will take her away. They always said my child should be given to others to be raised as a servant. They say I am too weak to care for her." The human's jaw clenched. He rose to his feet, standing tall. "They will not take her," he said. "Not while I breathe." The mother gasped at his boldness. Her people feared the villagers too much to ever defy them. Yet this stranger, this human, spoke as if their threats meant nothing. She stared at him, confused, afraid, but also strangely comforted. The day passed slowly. The child laughed a little as the human showed her how to break sticks for firewood. The sound of her laughter filled the ruined hut like a forgotten melody. The mother watched, her heart swelling with emotion. It had been so long since she had heard that sound. But outside, trouble was brewing. Whispers spread quickly through the village. The human had not only given food and blanket to the cursed mother, he had also dared to stand against them. Some villagers gathered, anger burning in their voices. "The human thinks he can shame us," one spat. "He thinks he is better than us," another hissed. They plotted, speaking of driving him out, or worse, as the sun set. The mother felt her chest tighten again. She looked at the human, who calmly sharpened a knife near the fire, his expression steady, as though he had faced far worse than angry villagers. She wanted to ask him why he cared, why he had not left already, but the words stuck in her throat. The child crawled into her lap. "Yawning, Mama," she whispered. "We are safe now." The mother pressed her lips against the child's forehead. Fighting back tears, she wished she could believe those words. She wished safety was more than a moment, more than a stranger's kindness. But when she lifted her eyes, the human was watching them, his gaze steady, protective, and for the first time, she thought that maybe, just maybe, safety was possible. If he stayed, Asteris whispers of betrayal, the second night came heavy with silence. The alien mother sat close to the fire, her child wrapped safely in the human's blanket. The warmth gave her comfort, yet her heart was restless. She knew her people. She knew their cruelty. If they had seen the humans stand against them once, they would not forget, they would not forgive. Outside the broken hut, shadows moved through the village. Voices whispered in the dark, harsh and cruel. "The cursed woman lives because of him," one muttered. "The human makes her believe she matters." Another sneered. "We cannot allow this." The words grew into plans, bitter plans. The human, sitting near the doorway, heard enough, his ears trained to catch danger even in silence. His hand rested on the hilt of his blade, but his face remained calm. He turned his eyes toward the mother and child, not wanting to alarm them. The child slept soundly, small breaths rising and falling. The mother, however, watched him closely. She saw the tightness in his jaw, the way his eyes narrowed. She understood something was wrong. "What do they want?" she whispered, her voice trembling. The human did not answer at first. He looked back into the fire, then said softly, "They want to break you?" He met her eyes, "And they want to take her." The mother froze, her arms tightening around her child, her heart thundered in her chest. "No," she breathed. "They will not touch her. I will fight them myself if I must." Her voice cracked. Though she tried to sound strong, the human leaned forward, his tone steady. "You will not fight alone." For the rest of the night, the hut felt like a cage. The mother could not sleep. Every creak of wood, every whisper of wind sounded like footsteps coming closer. She pressed her child close, whispering lullabies, her voice shaking but soft. The human stayed awake, his eyes fixed on the door, his blade never leaving his hand. Morning brought no peace. The villagers gathered near the center of the settlement. The elders stood tall, their eyes burning with anger. One of them raised a hand. "This ends tonight," he said. "The human shames us. He defends the cursed mother. He defies our law." The crowd muttered. Some looked uneasy, but most nodded. "Their faces hard. She cannot keep the child." One shouted, "The girl will be raised as a servant." As is proper, another spat, and the mother let her be thrown into the cold. Let her die as she should have long ago. The mother overheard these words. Carried by the wind through broken walls, her body trembled. Fear clawed at her chest. But something deeper stirred within her anger. She had endured their hatred, their insults, their scorn, but now they dared to threaten the only thing she lived for. She looked at the human, tears burning in her eyes. "They will not stop until she is gone," she whispered, "until I am gone." Her voice cracked. "Why do you stay? You should leave me. Save yourself." The human shook his head, his eyes locked on hers. Firm as stone, I did not come this far to walk away, he said. "If they want her, they must go through me." Her breath caught. She wanted to protest, to tell him it was impossible. But the fire in his eyes silenced her. He spoke not like a wanderer, but like a warrior. Someone who had faced death before and did not fear it. That evening, the villagers gathered outside the hut. Torches burned in their hands. Their voices rose like a storm. "Come out," they shouted. "Give us the child. Spare yourself the pain." The mother clutched her little one, who cried. Softly against her chest, the flames of the torches danced in the human's eyes as he stood in the doorway. "Blade in hand, you will not touch them," he said, his voice deep and steady. His words cut through the shouts like thunder. The crowd hissed and spat. Some moved closer, but none dared step past the reach of his blade. The human's stance was unyielding. He stood tall, his shadow cast long by the firelight. Behind him, the mother's eyes widened. She could not believe anyone would defy the whole village for her sake. The standoff stretched into silence. Then one of the elders snarled, "If you protect them, you make their curse your own." The human's answer was calm, yet sharp as steel. "Then I will carry it." The crowd erupted in anger, but still none advanced. The human's presence was like a wall they could not climb. At last, the villagers withdrew into the night, muttering threats, promising that this was not the end. Inside the hut, the mother collapsed to her knees, clutching her child. Tears streamed down her face. "I do not understand you," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Why risk your life for us? Why fight them when you owe me nothing?" "Get at her because no one else will," he said. "And because you should not have to fight alone." Her heart ached with emotions she could not name. Gratitude, fear, hope, and something deeper. For the first time in her life, she felt truly seen, truly defended, and though the danger had not passed, she held on to his words as if they were the only fire left in the dark. The escape under stars the night after the confrontation felt heavier than ever. The alien mother sat awake, her arms wrapped around her child. The crackling fire gave only faint warmth, and outside the village lay in silence. But she knew that silence was not safety. It was the waiting breath before the storm. The villagers would not forget. They would not forgive. the human sharpened. His blade by the doorway, his eyes fixed on the shadows beyond. He had seen this before. The way hate grew when left unchecked. If they stayed, the villagers would strike again, this time with greater numbers. He looked back at the mother, her face pale with worry. Her child pressed tightly against her chest. He spoke firmly. "We cannot remain here when darkness falls." Again, "We leave." Her eyes widened. "Leave," she whispered. "But where?" "Beyond the village lies the forest, wild rivers, frozen ground, and beasts in the night. We will not survive." Her voice cracked. "I have a child," the human stepped closer, kneeling beside her, his voice steady. "You have endured worse than forests, worse than cold, and I will walk with you." His eyes softened. "You will not face it alone." Tears burned in her eyes. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to trust that he could carry them beyond this cursed place. She looked at her child, who slept with her small hand curled around the human's blanket. The child had begun to smile again. Faint and rare, but real. That small smile was enough to give her courage. She nodded weakly. "Then we go," when the moons rose high. Casting silver light over the ruins, the three of them stepped quietly into the night. The human led, his boots silent on the snow. The mother followed, carrying her child close. Every step a prayer that no torchlight would appear behind them. The forest loomed ahead, dark and endless. The trees stood tall, like ancient watchers, their branches heavy with frost. The mother hesitated at the edge. She had never left the village before. The outside world had always been spoken of as death. But behind them lay cruelty. And before them, perhaps, hope. She clutched her child tighter and stepped into the shadows. Hours passed. The forest was cruel. The wind howled through the trees, and the ground cracked with hidden ice. The child whimpered in her arms, too weak to walk. Her legs ached, her bare feet torn, yet she pushed forward. The human walked ahead, cutting branches, clearing paths. He paused often to wait, his eyes sharp, always scanning for danger. At one point, a pack of wild beasts appeared, their glowing eyes circling from the dark. The mother froze, trembling. Her child buried her face into her chest. The human raised his blade, standing tall. His voice thundered into the night, a roar that echoed through the trees. The beast snarled but did not advance. Something in his stance, something in his voice, made them retreat into the shadows. The mother stared at him, her heart pounding. She whispered, "You face them without fear." The human shook his head, his eyes still scanning the dark. "Not without fear," he said quietly. "But fear does not stop me." By dawn, they reached a river, frozen at the edges, but water still rushing. In the middle, the crossing was dangerous. The mother shook her head. "We cannot," she whispered. Clutching her child tighter, the human removed his coat. Tying it across his chest, he lifted the child carefully. "I will carry her," he said. Then he looked at the mother. "And you will follow me. Do not stop." The freezing water cut like knives. The human pushed forward, the child clinging to his shoulder. The mother stepped after him, her teeth chattering, her body screaming with pain. Yet she followed, step after step. Until they reached the other side, she collapsed on the bank, gasping, her child still safe in her arms. The human helped her up, wrapping the blanket around them both. His voice was steady but kind. "You are stronger than you believe," he said. "Every step proves it." The journey did not end there. By nightfall, they climbed a ridge from where the whole world seemed to stretch below. The stars burned bright above them, endless and vast. The child pointed with wide eyes, whispering, "Mama." Lights, her small voice trembled with wonder. She had never seen the sky so wide, so alive. The mother sank to her knees, her body exhausted, yet her heart full for the first time in her life. She felt far from the village, far from their cruelty. She looked at the human standing tall against the starlight, his figure strong and unyielding. Her voice shook as she whispered, "Why do you stay? Why do you carry us through this?" The human looked at her, then at the child. His answer was simple, yet it struck deep into her soul, "Because you deserve more than ashes and hunger. And she deserves to grow, not to die." The mother pressed her face into her child's hair, sobbing. Softly, not tears of despair, but of something she had not felt in years' hope, she whispered through her tears, "Perhaps the stars are not so far away after all, and under that sky." With the fire of survival still burning in their hearts, the three of them continued their journey, step by step, into the unknown. Asterisk shelter of the brave, the long journey through the forest ended when the sun began to sink. The alien mother stumbled with each step, her body weak from hunger and cold. But her child still clung to her chest, alive, breathing. Her legs almost gave way when the human stopped suddenly at the top of a ridge. He raised his hand, signaling her to stay quiet. Below, hidden among the cliffs and tall trees, smoke curled softly into the air. Tents and structures stood in neat rows. Humans moved about, armored and armed. It was a camp, a place alive with firelight and voices. The mother gasped, her heart racing. "Humans," she whispered, fear and relief mixing together. The human turned to her, his face steady. "This is a safe place," he said. "Here you will not freeze. Here she will not starve." He looked at the child who peeked over the blanket, her alien eyes wide with wonder. "But," he added, his voice lowering, "you must trust me. My people do not always welcome outsiders." The mother's heart sank. She looked at her child, then back at him. "If they cast us out," she whispered, "then I will have nothing left." Her voice shook. "Promise me they will not take her away." The human's jaw tightened. He placed his hand on her shoulder, firm and reassuring. "As long as I draw breath," he said, "no one will take her from you." Together, they descended toward the camp. Soldiers on watch saw them first. Their weapons rose in alarm. Shouts rang out, "Identify yourself." The human lifted his hand slowly, his voice calm. "It is me," he called. "I return." When the guards recognized him, their eyes widened. Some lowered their weapons. But their gazes quickly shifted to the alien woman and the child wrapped in a ragged blanket. Suspicion spread across their faces. Murmurs began. "Why has he brought them? Aliens, here. This is dangerous." The human guided the mother forward, ignoring the whispers. He stopped before the captain of the watch, a stern man with lines of command etched into his face. The captain's eyes narrowed. "You return after weeks in the wild," he said, "and you bring this." He gestured toward the mother and her child, his voice cold. The mother shrank back, clutching her child tighter. Her heart pounded. The old fear returned. The same fear she had felt in her village. The same voices that once called her cursed. She expected the same here. Rejection, scorn, hatred. But before the captain could speak further, the human's voice cut through the air. Firm and unwavering, "They are under my protection," he said. "She has suffered enough. The child is innocent. You will treat them as you treat me." Gasps rippled through the gathered soldiers. No one spoke to the captain like that. The captain's eyes darkened. "You dare command me," he hissed. "For aliens, for those who are not our own." The human stepped forward, his stance unyielding. His voice carried power. "Yes," he said. "Because humanity means more than blood. It means standing when others fall. It means giving hope when all else is gone. And if you cannot see that, then perhaps you have forgotten what we fight for." The camp fell into silence. Every soldier stared. Some looked ashamed. Some nodded faintly. The captain scowled, but he did not speak again. At last, he gave a sharp motion of his hand. "Fine," he said. but they are your responsibility. If they bring trouble, it is on your head." Relief flooded the mother's chest. Her knees almost gave way. The child stirred in her arms, whispering softly, "Mama, warm." For the first time in so long, the word did not sound like a dream inside the camp. The mother was given a small corner in one of the shelters, a blanket, a bowl of soup, and clean water. She stared at the food as if it were treasure. Her hands trembled as she fed the child. The little one ate eagerly, her cheeks flushing with new life. Tears spilled down the mother's face. She whispered, "Thank you," though she did not know if the human heard her. Later that night, as the camp quieted, the mother sat near the fire. Dressed in borrowed clothes, they were simple but whole. And for the first time in many nights, she was not bare, not shivering. She touched the fabric with her fingers. Overwhelmed by the weight of dignity, it gave back to her. Yet even as warmth wrapped her, fear remained. She watched the human from across the fire. He spoke with his companions, his voice calm, his posture strong. She whispered to herself, "What if he leaves? What if tomorrow I wake and he is gone?" The thought made her chest ache, for she knew now that without him, hope would vanish. The child, however, felt none of that fear. She crawled across the floor and tugged at the human's arm. Her wide alien eyes sparkled in the firelight. "Stay," she whispered simply. The human paused, then smiled faintly. Placing his hand gently on her head, "I will," he said. The mother's eyes filled with tears again for the first time. She allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, they had found not only shelter, but something far stronger: protection, safety, and perhaps even belonging. The first light of morning touched the human camp, painting the sky in soft shades of gold and silver. The cold was still sharp, but the air carried a quiet calm. A peace the alien mother had not felt in years. She sat near the fire, her child asleep in her arms, the blanket wrapped tightly around them both. For once, the child's face was not pale, but warm with life, her little breaths soft and steady. The mother looked down at her child and then across the fire. Where the human prepared his pack, fear stirred in her chest, sharp and painful. Was this the moment he would leave? Was he only passing through? A shadow of kindness in her endless suffering. Her hands clutched the child tighter, her lips trembling. As she whispered, "Please, do not let it end now." The human noticed her eyes on him. He paused, lowering his pack, and walked toward her, kneeling beside her. He spoke quietly. "You are safe here now." His voice was steady, but she heard more beneath it. Something unspoken. She shook her head, her tears threatening to fall. "Safe only if you stay." She whispered, "Without you, I have nothing. They will cast me out again." The human's gaze softened. He looked at the child, who stirred, and reached out a tiny hand, gripping his sleeve as if she too feared he might vanish. He laid his hand over hers gently. "I am not leaving," he said firmly. "Not now, not ever. You do not need to face the world alone anymore." The mother broke then. Silent sobs shook her shoulders. She pressed her face into her child's hair, whispering words of gratitude that her voice could hardly carry. The child woke slowly, rubbing her eyes. She blinked up at the human and smiled sleepily. "Papa," she whispered by accident. The word slipped out as natural as breathing. The mother froze, her eyes wide. She opened her mouth to correct her daughter, to tell her that this was only a stranger. But when she looked at the human's face, she saw no anger, no rejection. Instead, he only smiled faintly, his eyes soft. He did not speak. But his silence was an answer more powerful than words. Later, as the camp stirred with life, soldiers approached. Some still glared, still mistrustful. But others offered nods. One woman knelt and gave the child a small piece of fruit. The little Girl giggled, holding it like a jewel. The mother watched, her heart aching with both fear and hope for the first time. She felt they might be seen not as curses, but as lives worth saving. The captain of the watch came again, his face stern. He looked at the human, then at the mother. "They do not belong here," he said. "The rules forbid it." The mother stiffened, her arms locking protectively around her child. But before she could speak, the human stood tall, his voice ringing with strength. "Then change the rules," he said. "For what is the point of rules if they allow children to freeze? If they let mothers burn their own clothes to keep them alive?" The captain's jaw clenched. His eyes swept over the gathered soldiers. Many of them looked away, ashamed. A few nodded in agreement. The captain gritted his teeth but gave no reply. Instead, he turned and walked away. The mother stared at the human, her lips parted in awe. "You fight even against your own for us," she whispered. "Why?" The human's eyes met hers, his voice steady. "Because it is what must be done. Because your life matters, her life matters." The words filled her heart with a warmth she had never known. It was not the warmth of fire, not the warmth of cloth. It was the warmth of hope, alive and burning. Inside her, she held her child close and whispered softly, "Do you hear, little one? We matter." That evening, as the stars lit the sky again, the mother sat with the human by the fire. The child slept soundly between them, her small hand resting against both of theirs. The mother turned her face toward the man, her voice quiet but certain. "You gave me warmth when I had nothing left. You gave me hope when I thought it was gone. I do not know how to repay you." The human looked at her, his expression calm. "You repay me by living," he said. "By giving her a future." He nodded toward the child. "That is enough." Tears filled her eyes again. But this time they were not from despair. They were from something new, something bright. She whispered, "Then I will live. I will fight, not just for her, but because you showed me I could." The campfire crackled. The stars burned bright. And for the first time in her life, the alien mother felt that dawn had truly come. Not the dawn of the sun, but the dawn of hope. And as the night stretched around them, the human, the mother, and the child sat together. No longer strangers, but a family born not of blood, but of courage, sacrifice, and love. Beyond the dawn, the days in the human camp slowly turned into weeks. The alien mother no longer woke in terror each night. Her child laughed more often now, chasing other children around the fire. For the first time in her life, the mother felt she could breathe, yet deep inside, a whisper of fear remained. She knew peace could not last forever, not in a world where hate still walked beyond the camp's walls. One evening, the human returned from patrol, his armor scratched, his blade stained. The mother's eyes widened as she rushed to him. "You are hurt," she whispered. He shook his head, not badly. His voice was steady. But his eyes told another story. He had seen danger near, too close, that night. As the child slept peacefully, the mother pressed him for answers. "Tell me the truth," she whispered. "What did you see?" The human stared into the fire. The flames reflected in his eyes. "Your village has not forgotten," he said. Quietly, they gather in secret. Some speak of war, others of taking the child by force. They call her a stain that must be erased. The mother's body shook. She pulled her daughter close, tears burning her eyes. "They will never stop." She whispered bitterly, "Even now, when we are far, their hate follows us." She looked at him, her voice breaking. "What will we do?" The human placed a hand on her shoulder. "Firm and steady, we will face them," he said. "But not as before, not as prey hiding in a ruined hut. This time, we stand together the next day." The captain of the camp summoned the human. Soldiers murmured. Some still disliked the alien woman and her child. but others had grown to respect the courage she showed. The captain's voice was sharp. Trouble comes. Your decision to bring them here has consequences. If the village comes, they will bring fire, they will bring blood. The human did not flinch. Then we meet them, he said. We will not cast them out to save ourselves. His words rang like steel. His fellow soldiers shifted, uneasy but silent. Some nodded faintly. That night, the mother overheard him speaking with the captain again. His words cut through the dark. If you fear protecting them, then I will walk alone. Her chest tightened at those words. She knew he would fight an entire village if he must. She could not let him carry it alone. She approached him, her voice trembling but firm. If you go, then I go, she said. If they want me, then I will face them. I will not hide while you bleed for me. The human turned to her. Shock in his eyes, he searched her face, then nodded slowly. Then, we face it together, he said, when the attack finally came. It was not with torches, but with fury. The villagers marched with sharpened sticks. With stone blades, with hatred burning brighter than fire, they shouted curses, demanding the child. Demanding her death, but this time the mother did not cower. She stood beside the human, her child behind her. Her eyes burned not with fear, but with defiance. Her voice rose, trembling yet strong. You called me cursed. You called her worthless, yet she still lives, she still breathes. And she will outlive your hate. The human's blade gleamed in the firelight. His voice thundered. If you want them, you face me. The battle that followed was fierce. The villagers rushed, but the soldiers of the camp stood with the human. Shields locked, blades flashing, for the first time. The mother's people saw resistance. They saw strength, not in cruelty, but in protection. They faltered, their cries breaking under the clash of steel. In the chaos, the mother shielded her child, whispering soft words. Her heart raced, but she did not break. She saw the human fighting like a storm. Every strike a promise that they would not be taken. At last, the villagers broke. Fear replaced their hate, one by one. They fled into the night, their curses fading into silence when the battle ended. The mother fell to her knees, her body weak, but her spirit strong. She looked at the human, blood on his hands, his breath heavy. You fought for us again, she whispered. Even when it cost you everything. The human looked at her, then at the child clinging to her side, his voice steady. No, not everything. For tonight, we won more than a fight. We won a future. Tears streamed down her face. She pulled her child close, whispering, a future. Her voice cracked, but carried hope. Yes, a future. The mother turned to him, her voice low, but filled with strength. You gave me more than hope. You gave me a world I never believed could exist. A world where I can stand, where my child can laugh. You gave me life again. The human looked into her eyes, his voice steady. No, you gave